Hey yo, what is up? Today I have three mouses that I've been using recently, and we're going to put them head-to-head comparison of these three mouses. First of all, it's the VGN Dragonfly F1 Pro Max, the Lamzu Atlantis, and the Endgame Gear XM2we. Now we'll be talking about 6 categories that where all mouses you have to consider all these before you make your purchase or think about enjoying them or having them in your collection. We're going to talk about the shape and size. Number 2, we're going to talk about the build quality. Number 3, we're going to talk about the coating or the surface of the mouse. Number 4, we're going to talk about the buttons, the actuations. Number 5, we're going to talk about the feet. And finally, we're going to talk about the value of each mouse. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video is because I want to talk about these mouses that don't break the bank. I don't believe mouses should be exceeding $80. I don't think there's enough technology in there that warrants a $150 mouse or a $180 mouse. I think mouses around the $50 to $80 range is the correct price of the mouse, judging from the technology that we have right now. And I think you don't need to break the bank in order to buy a good working mouse that is going to fulfill your gaming needs. So first of all, let's talk about the shape and size. All these three mouses are what would be categorized as ambi. That means they're ambidextrous. It means they're symmetrical front and back. They're symmetrical side to side. They don't have they're not ergonomic like the Death Adder. Death Adder here would be called ergonomic because the mouse 2 button is much lower than the mouse 1 button, so they call this an ergonomic design. But these three mouses here are the ambi category. So in terms of shapes and sizes, that's what these are called. The smallest of the three is the Dragonfly F1. This is 121 millimeters front to back. But if you really want to compare them side by side, they don't really. It's not very different. They basically more or less the same size. I'm saying the Dragonfly is smaller because it is slightly slimmer. It is slightly lengthwise. It is slightly shorter. So out of the three, this would be the smaller mouse. Now, when I got this mouse, my initial reaction was I actually got this mouse by mistake. I wanted something else, and this was the only thing they had, and they sent me this. And I thought I wouldn't like it, but I was very surprised that this thing actually fits my hand. Now my hand is a 21 and a half by 10, which means I'm on the bigger side, but I found that the Dragonfly fits really nicely, and it also has this relief grooves or comfort grooves on the mouse 1 and mouse 2 button, so it felt really comfortable in my hand. Now this was me coming from an ergo mouse. This was my main mouse. The Death Adder Elite was my main mouse, and this is a huge mouse compared to the Dragonfly. A lot of difference. But again, I thought I wasn't going to like the Dragonfly, but as soon as I had it in my hand, I felt really good and felt really comfortable with the Dragonfly. And that's what I got to say about the VGN Dragonfly. Size and shape wise, ambi, very comfortable. The next bigger mouse I would say is the Lamzu Atlantis. Lamzu Atlantis and the Endgame Gear kind of similar in terms of shape and size, but the Lamzu is slightly fatter at the top. It's wider at the top, slimmer at the bottom, or maybe they're the same at the bottom. I'm not sure. But the Lamzu is definitely wider, fatter on the sides where the buttons are. So the Lamzu and the Endgame Gear very similar in the shape. I think the Lamzu, it has a slightly higher hump and the Endgame Gear slightly lower hump at the back. but the end game gear overall length is slightly longer. So I feel the back of the hump is slightly pushing onto the palm of my hand, more so than the Lamzu Atlantis. So I can feel a slight difference. If you have a bigger hand, I'm going to imagine that you will find the end game gear maybe more fun or more conforming to your hand size, and that's the size and shape comparison between the three mouses. Now let's talk about the build quality. This is very interesting. The cheapest mouse here is actually the Dragonfly F1, but if you look at the Dragonfly F1, it has excellent build quality. Yes, it has a little bit of creaking. If I really squeeze on it, on the sides, if I really squeeze on it, there is a little bit of creaking, but you cannot get that creaking when you are playing the mouse and you're using it day-to-day basis. You're not going to squeeze, you're not going to death grip the mouse until you hear a creaking sound. The button actuations, there is hardly or no pre-travel and post-travel. Clicking actuation is really nice. This is actually exceeding the $57 it costs brand new. So this is like excellent build quality for a $57 mouse. The side buttons, I'm not really a big fan of these slim style side buttons, but they work fine, they actuate great. It's just, you know, we're used to thicker kind of sides like the Lamzu Atlantis, but the thinner ones are just fine. And for a small mouse, I really like the Dragonfly F1 Pro Max. And by the way, the F1 Pro Max is 4K compatible as well with a 3395 sensor, which is the latest sensor. So really good in terms of build quality and performance. So there's really no complaints there. I did put some grip tape, and the grip tape bulks it up a bit, makes it a bit thicker and fatter, so it suits my hand really nicely. Now the Lamzu Atlantis, on the other hand, also there is a little bit of creaking if you really want to death grip it. You know, if you're really being picky, yes, you can get some creaking. But button actuations on the side buttons, really no problem. They sound great, they feel great. The mouse one button on my copy, there is some pre-travel. You can see pre-travel there. Before I actuate it, there is some pre-travel, and then after traveling, after actuation, there is some post-travel as well. Not so in the mouse 2 button, but mouse 2 button there is no pre-travel and there is hardly any post-travel, but the mouse 1 there is. So maybe this copy isn't that great, but if you want to take a look at build quality, again, I'm going to compare this with these three mouses. Look at the gaps in the Lamzu. If you're into cars and you know about body panels, you're going to be very, conscious about this. You're looking at the gaps and how they line up, and you can see the Lamzu Atlantis has got really wide gaps, while the Dragonfly has very tight gaps, and the endgame gear even tighter gaps. Out of the three, the Lamzu, the endgame gear has the best build quality. Look at how tight the gap is on the mouse 1 and mouse 2 button. Absolutely no pre-travel, no post-travel. This is really good in terms of build quality. I'm very impressed with it. Endgame gear really knocked it out of the park in terms of build quality. I think out of the three, the build quality, the champion is definitely going to be the endgame gear. Now let's talk about the coating. The coating on the Lamzu Atlantis and the Dragonfly, very similar, very chalky. Basically no coating, it's just some kind of plastic. And if you have dry hands, it's going to work perfectly fine. There's really no problem on it at all if you have dry hands. But if you have greasy, sweaty hands like me, it's going to be a big problem. It's very slippery. I have to use grip tape even on the mouse 1 and mouse 2 buttons on the Lamzu Atlantis as well. I need grip tape on the actuation buttons as well, because I feel like once you start sweating gaming hard, it's going to be a problem. This thing is just going to be too slippery and greasy. On the endgame gear, the coating is the best because it has some kind of coating that is really grippy, I would say. And I don't even need grip tape on the mouse 1 and mouse 2 buttons. The grip is so nice. But I do like grip tape on the side. That's because, again, I am exceptionally greasy and sweaty on my fingers. I have moisture on my palms, on my hand, on my fingertips all the time. Really clammy hands, so it helps to have some kind of grip tape on the side. So the feeling is kind of like my Death Adder Elite, where Death Adder Elite it has grip tape on, it has grips on the sides, but no grips on the top. So it feels kind of like, reminds me of the Death Adder kind of grip. So this is really good. The only problem with this surface coating is it has you leave a lot of marks on it, especially the white one. It'll be black. You have a black spot here in like 3 days, and you need to constantly keep it clean, which is not a problem for me because all my peripherals are white anyway. I like it white so that I can make an effort to keep it clean all the time, wipe it down, use alcohol pads or whatever, keep my environment clean all the time. I like it that way, so I don't mind white ones. If you have a black one, and the black one is going to leave a lot of marks, so beware buyer if you pick up an end game gear. But next, let's talk about the button actuations. I actually talked about it already. The Lamzu is the worst one of all because of that pre-travel that you get out of the mouse 1, which I experienced in my copy. The Dragonfly is definitely better than the Lamzu in terms of the button actuations. Really nice crispy buttons. I think these are Kale GM 8.0, so they're really nice. The end game gear is the best. I don't know how to put it, but it is just absolutely fantastic actuation. The mouse 1, mouse 2 really great. The 3 and 4 buttons or the side buttons, very light actuation. I think you could possibly, if you rest your thumb on it all the time in game, I suppose you can actually accidentally actuate these buttons. But I love the end game gear. It is really very good implementation all around for this kind of budget. I think it's an $80 mouse. It is really good value for money, which is category 6, the last thing that I want to talk about in terms of value for money. The Dragonfly is only $57 for a 4K polling, which is all the rage now, and $33.95 sensor. The Lamzu Atlantis is 80 something, $90 as well for the $33.95 sensor. I think the new ones have 4K polling for around $100 as well, and the endgame gear $80, but the sensor is a 3370 sensor. So in terms of sensor, it is not the latest sensor, but 3370 sensor, it works just fine. It is just as good. I forgot to talk about the item number 5, which is the mouse feet. Now, if you didn't know, if you watched my last video, I was talking about how glass feet, I thought glass feet was going to be better than my PTFE feet. I ended up taking 3 weeks to find out, testing out glass feet, PTFE dots and PTFE pads, and in the end I found out that the best performance was coming out of PTFE pads. And with that being said, all these the Lamzu Atlantis and the Dragonfly, they come in a box together with extra feet and grip tape. I'm not using the Lamzu Atlantis grip tape, but in the box it comes with extra grip tape, it comes with extra PTFE pads. So nowadays you can buy an $80 mouse. It comes with grip tape. It comes with extra mouse feet. It comes with a nice paracord with a dongle and a dongle extender. So does the VGN Dragonfly. So does the endgame gear. Out of the three, the endgame gear is the simplest one because it comes with nothing. It just comes with a mouse, the simplest packaging. It comes with a dongle, it comes with a paracord, it comes with a dongle extender. That's all you get. You don't even get grip tape on the endgame gear. So out of all these three mouses, the endgame gear is the one that doesn't have all the bells and whistles, while the VGN and the Lamzu Atlantis gets extra grip tape and the extra PTFE mouse feet. That being said, out of all three mouses, the mouse that I choose as my main daily driver is going to be the endgame gear. This is by far the best performing because of that big fat PTFE feet as well. I found that these perform the best. I've tested these feet on 4 different types of mouse pads. The Grandmaster Link, this is like a Raiden clone. I've tested it on the Odin Infinity, which is like an Artisan here. I've tested it on the Artisan Zero Orange mousepad, and my latest mousepad is the Artisan Hayate Otsu. So I've tested this on 4 different mousepads, and big fat mousepads are the best. In fact, the Endgame Gear OP1we is so good, I actually got 2 of them. So these are my main daily drivers. This one without the grip tape, just to get a feeling of how. We'll see what happens. I might put some grip tape on the side. But yeah, out of the 3 mouses that I've been considering to be my main mouse, I decided that the Endgame OP1we is the one for me. Anyway, I hope you found some useful information on this video on what kind of value for money you can get out of all the new mouses that are in the market. You do not need to spend $150 for a mouse. Spend $50, $60, $80. Don't spend more than $100 on a mouse, because all the new mouses in the market today are really, really good. They're just as good as the top of the line Death Adder or Logitech. Anyway, that's my video for today. Thanks for watching. I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.